So when you're not controlling and you're not trying to understand, an idea appears, and not from the same space that the mind, the recording machine is working. It's a different space. And what happens the minute you get an idea? Inspiration happens. You don't plan inspiration. You don't look for it. It just happens automatically as a result of a new idea. Now, if you do something effortlessly, physically, in relation to that, you pick up the phone, you make an appointment, you start moving, you start the momentum going. That's how manifestation happens. A lot of mentors are using the word manifestation, I believe, in a wrong way. They say, you want something, close your eyes, start imagining. No, that's what the ego wants. And what if God didn't want that? What if God doesn't want everybody to be a millionaire? What if in your lifeline, you're not meant to be? So you're going to be struggling every day to try and manifest something that's not in your lane. But if you let...
Hello, Ronny. Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Long time.
Really long time. What a pleasure and honor, to meet you again. I really appreciate your time. I told you, off camera that I still take with me and read, many of the things that we spoke about. And I'm really grateful for the fact that now you're going to share some of the beauty, the wisdom that you bring into the world, because you help thousands of people, light their path, see things that they didn't see. And that's amazing. You hope so many people get through challenging times, not only challenging times, breakthroughs, create themselves. We'll talk more about creation. You say that it's something that is already there that we just need to uncover.
We discover creation.
What is that?
We don't create, we discover creation.
Exactly. You speak about that a lot. Your book is amazing. I loved it, and we could leave down links, that way people can also buy the book. I really recommend. But I want to just start talking, go dive deep inside, and really be there for people with all the wisdom that you have and bring through to the world. So many people talk today about consciousness, awareness. Why is it so important? And sometimes, people try to understand, is it real, or is it only all, sometimes like when there's like a hot stock in the stock market, everyone talk about it, right? Like the hot stock. So
yeah.
Is this something that is like a trend that is like, why is it so important? Or you just like, what's the meaning of awareness? Maybe also what's the difference between awareness and consciousness, and why is it so important?
Where should I begin? Well, first of all, I'm not a clever lady. I get downloads and it comes out of me. So I'm not taking credit for this. And I think that that's the crux of everything that we're talking about. The ego wants to hijack the knowledge and say it's his and it belongs to him. But what came first? And I think that we've got to understand that at least I speak a spiritual talk. So if I'm speaking spiritually, I have to include God, universe, reincarnation, and anything that goes with that. So on the level of awareness, I'm not speaking about the level that most people think about when they say awareness or consciousness, because they're talking about subconscious and conscious. I'm talking about ego and God, and there's both together work for our benefit, so that we actually understand. We just have to know what to do with it. So if we go back in time, the analogy is that there was a moment in time that when we were esoteric and we didn't have a body, we suddenly left that vessel and we became physical. And in that moment, the story goes that Eve ate the fruit of the tree. What tree? The tree of knowledge, which meant that the moment before that, there was no knowledge. We just lived in this oblivion, being one, just like a drop of water joins another drop of water, and it's one. There's no thinking there. There's no consciousness. It just is. And that oneness included the universe, God, or whatever you want to call it, that created that in the first place. We can't understand God or universe through the mind. It's impossible. I just saw this interview with Elon Musk, who says he wants to put chip in people's brains, and he wants this brain to grow so intellectually so that it can finally find out what the universe is. And I'm going to tell him that he's already failed, because there's no way that this mind, however intellectual it is going to understand what the universe is. It's beyond understanding. And because it's beyond understanding, the paradox means I have to know there's something bigger than me, just because I can't understand it. So when I wake up in the morning, something's happening me, and I cannot explain it. And because I can't explain it, it has to be bigger than me, bigger than the mind. And there is no answer in the mind. The only answer you can get is if you are joined with it through the heart. You can feel it, you can't see it, you can't understand it. Okay, that's when we become one.
I have a question on that, and I really connected to what you said, but then like all these questions came up, and
say to yourself, where do the questions come up from, if not from the ego mind?
Exactly. So like when I try, let's say what Elon Musk is trying to do, or when I think that a lot of minds together can try to understand, you know, this one, like something that is above us, is that the ego? Like the fact that I'm trying to control and understand and think that I know it all, is that the ego like working in full power?
Absolutely, because the ego mind is limited. And it can, you know, if you're looking at AI, at the artificial intelligence, it's still limited. Everybody's scared of it. But what can it not do? It can't tell you the now and the future. It's using data that it already had in the past. It can't give you the now and the future. That is something that's out of the box, out of the ego mind. Okay? God is unlimited. But the paradox is that I don't know what God knows. So in order to discover that, I have to let go of knowing, so that I
accept it. Just accept the fact that I don't know. Just accept the fact.
Yes, because the moment you do that, you discover. We are in discovery every day. We discover ourselves. We discover what he already knows. I say he, just for the want of using something that we can relate to, okay? But that creator knows something about me that I haven't discovered yet, okay? Why would I go to something that's limited? I want to go to him. It means, though, that I have to let go of knowing that's limiting me from allowing myself to discover. So if we go back to the original story, the moment that fruit from the knowledge tree happened, that vessel couldn't happen anymore the way it was. So it had to break and become something else. And what happened was we all separated. In that moment, we became physical. The five senses suddenly appeared, and you know, the hearing, the smell, everything. We also have a sixth sense, but we didn't know how to use it. But in that moment, there was an imprint of DNA that happened, because there wasn't a DNA before. That DNA was the survivor DNA, because we became survivors the minute we left that, because before we were one, nothing to worry about. Now we're each on our own, trying to find how we're going to live in this life, okay? I need you to do something for me. I'm going to manipulate. I'm going to call it love, but it's going to be manipulated to try and get love, okay? We're in a needy era, okay? And a doctor needs a patient, a lawyer needs a client. Everything is based on need. So we're survivors. That imprint bore the ego. The ego was born in that moment, and he got into the driver's seat. And he started wanting, because the wanting comes from the ego. So where did God go? 1 minute we were one with him. Where did he disappear to?
Sounds like we fired him.
No, actually, he's under the radar. He actually is in the unseen world, the very world that created this as an idea. Okay? The ego wants to take credit for that. He says, oh, I made this. But where did you get the idea from? So it's somewhere in time and space, and God hides in your imagination. In the out of the 4% box, that's where he resides, within you, because he's the one supplying the ideas to you. And you want to understand the difference. So when you're not controlling and you're not trying to understand, an idea appears, and not from the same space that the mind, the recording machine is working. It's a different space. And what happens the minute you get an idea? Inspiration happens. You don't plan inspiration. You don't look for it. It just happens automatically as a result of a new idea. Now, if you do something effortlessly, physically, in relation to that, you pick up the phone, you make an appointment, you start moving, you start the momentum going. That's how manifestation happens. A lot of mentors are using the word manifestation, I believe, in a wrong way. They say, you want something, close your eyes, start imagining. No, that's what the ego wants. And what if God didn't want that? What if God doesn't want everybody to be a millionaire? What if in your lifeline, you're not meant to be? So you're going to be struggling every day to try and manifest something that's not in your lane. But if you let go, you will discover what's in your lane. And then at the end of the day, you are being serene and happy and flowing. And isn't that what you wanted in the first place when you were running after your tail to try and get something through the ego? So we need to understand that split that lives within us. We live duality. We live the ego, mind, and we live God. So where's my free choice? Because at the end of the day, it's what you want to feel about you. Okay. So the only way and the only key to get into that place that everything is to surrender to it. Is to surrender knowledge, is to let go of thinking that you know everything. And in that moment, you start discovering. And then you're happy. So you're not fighting, you're not struggling, and you're not wasting time trying to get something that's not meant for you. And I'll tell you something else, jealousy. Jealousy is not a bad thing if you know how to use it. You will never be jealous of somebody that has something you don't want. So say somebody has a beautiful house in Russia, but you'd never wanted to go and live in Russia, you're not going to be jealous of that person. But if you wanted to live, say, in Thailand, you might be jealous of that person. So what lies under that is your desire. So it's a hint to show you that you actually have a desire. So if you use that wisely and you know it's a desire, you can leave the jealousy bit behind, which is a negative wavelength, and go for the desire. Now, if you have the desire, it was meant for you.
Wow. That's like, you know, like this whole last part about jealousy, because usually we know what we focus on the jealousy part is like this really bad thing. And I you know, as you said, I don't think it's something good or bad. Also, you talk about that, what is good and bad, but the whole jealousy part usually is like, okay, jealousy, you know, cross it off. And now you're saying, no, jealousy, you said so many things that I could have, it was amazing.
Yeah, because you can get stuck there. You can get stuck there.
The amazing part, Ronny, that you just now said, that jealousy, don't cross it off. First, understand that if we're jealous for someone, like you said, maybe in Russia I don't want, but in Thailand I do, that means that's a desire that I have. That's something that does that mean that is that something that also meant to be mine? Because you said
because it came to you. It's not that necessarily that Thailand was meant for you. It's the desire of the inspiration that lies under the jealousy that you want. You want to feel something that you're inspired by that person.
Right, but how do I know what's mine? Because you said before that I need to surrender and let go. So let's say now, okay, if I want to make this practical, I'm surrendering, letting go, even though it's the opposite. I would think that I need to know in order to get someplace, but you're saying, okay, I'm accepting that, surrender, let go. And now this jealousy comes towards someone. And is that, like, how do I know what exactly over there belongs to me? What does God want for me in that?
Okay, so this is interesting. When you let go, everything meant for you starts appearing. So if jealousy shows up, it's bringing with it a hint of your desire. Okay? But that's coming from a different space. So the ego would call it jealousy, and on the spiritual side, we'll call it desire. We want to be able to use the ego as a friend, not as an enemy, because everything you resist persists and everything you accept dissipates. So if you're looking at the ego and you're using, you know, we have a terminology in the Bible that says ezer kenegdecha, which means there are a lot of characters that come into your life. You come into this world and you're going to meet people who are cheerleaders. You're going to meet people who are going to try and run you over, and some will stick a knife in you. And at the end, You're going to turn around, bow down, and say thank you to each of them for showing you who you are and who you want to be. Because everybody comes to you for you, okay? But you just have to know which glasses to put on. So if you're busy, stuck in resentment, in anger and all that, you're going to miss it. But if you say, why is that showing up in my life? Hang on, what does it want to show me about me? Oh, so it first wants to show me I can be jealous, but it also wants to show me I have a desire. And it also wants to show me that the trait that I don't like in the other person, I hold within me. And as long as I don't cleanse it within me, that person is in prison with me. He can't change his ways with me because I'm not changing mine. And I have a need for him to mirror me. So I stick him in a place that he can't let go of because of me, because I'm not cleansing that. Okay, so I have to be in the space that I understand that everything that's showing up is showing up for my benefit to improve me spiritually. We're on a spiritual path. So on the mundane level, you will say, so he's a professor and he's an artist and he's a that and she's a that, but their lesson isn't about being a professor. Their lesson is a spiritual path, and they're going to use what we call props. They're going to use the nurses and whatever it is that around the surroundings as their workshop to improve their spiritual path. Okay, because that's the lesson we've come to learn. Well, we're going to use it through the things that we enjoy. So God's going to give you a gift. He's going to say, I'm going to give you the gift of drawing or something, because I want you to enjoy yourself while you're working or while whatever you're doing. But I want you to understand that everything is going to be a reflection of you. And what we really, really have to get, that in this era, it does not resemble any other era. This era is a cleansing era. That's all. We each have to accept that we're on a path. We don't know what the result is yet. We're on a path. And we've got to accept that we're in it. We're in the path at the moment. We're in the process. And we're looking, look at our country. Look what's happening right now. This is the Tower of Babel. Babel in Hebrew means bilbul. It means confusion. When the truth looks like the lie and the lie looks like the truth, and everybody's getting confused, and you see everybody out screaming, but yet they use words like oneness and, in Hebrew we say achdut, oneness and unconditional love and all that. But they still come to the protests with their own personal survival agenda. Okay, and until everybody crosses up to one agenda, until everybody understands nobody has to fight for their rights, because we're the human race. We're not a black race, we're not a Jewish race, we're not a Christian race, we're one human race. That will be the moment that the tower falls down. We're not there yet, we're watching it, and everything that you're seeing on the macro represents the micro. We have micro. We have our own little inner discussion, which is in relation to what we're watching, because it's all meant for us and our spiritual journey. So we have to know how to use it so that we can improve ourselves. I can't be a light if I'm not a light. I can't shine the light on you unless I'm the light myself. So, mentors, especially mentors and teachers, have to first be the light. And they're doing the work just as much as the students. You can't not, So when I'm listening to this download, there's a Ronny here on her spiritual path. And I'm also fine-tuning and understanding and what am I watching and fixing it and so on. If I'm not being the example, I can't show you that it works. It has to happen to me first, right? Sure. So we're all in this together. On the macro, on the micro, we have to come together and understand that we're all on one journey to get back to the oneness, only this time through choice, not because it was done to us, but because we made the choice to do it. And the only way to do that is to get rid of the ego. And you might say, some people say we're being prepared for the fifth dimension, but that we're on the third dimension. And you'd say, okay, so where did the fourth go? Right. The fourth dimension is death. It could be a physical death, or it could be killing the ego while alive, but it's the death of the ego.
And that comes by surrendering?
That comes by being under the radar of that DNA blueprint. It comes from crossing over, and you cross over when you relinquish your need to know. You cross over, and then you're changing the DNA.
Wow. You're saying like letting go of the need to know, and this is like, I understand what you're saying, but it's like kind of exactly the opposite. Like we're in the generation of so much knowledge, you know, what a kid knows today when he's 10 years old is more than what someone knew when he was 100, I don't know, 100 years ago, even less. So it's interesting that you're saying actually what, like all of the knowledge that we think that we know everything, and like that we're in the top and everything is in our control, that's exactly what we need to release. And that's really
interesting. You're talking about two different not knowings. There's a knowingness and there's knowledge.
Yeah, but out of knowledge, many people try to come to knowingness inside. And you're saying that the mind is not, it doesn't work through there. And
the mind won't let you go to the knowingness. There's no way.
So you mentioned in the book that, if I understood it correctly over there, that feelings can be a guide, okay? And
yes.
I guess that's something behind the mind. But you also mentioned at the beginning of this talk that, you know, you said that AI basically, they kind of, I don't know, predict the future, but they build everything based on the past. So how do we know that feelings that we have inside of us are not based on the past, and they're actually, there's something over here, they're here to guide us, that like what's our next step? Like how do I know that those feelings are right? Because let's say you said that, you know, many times when we do manifesting, so we manifest things that have nothing to do with us, like no one that God wants us to have that. But if I want to say, okay,
no, you will never manifest something that's not for you. That's what I'm saying. Save yourself the struggle. Okay, let's
can I take those feelings, say that they're mine, and manifest them? Like how do I know what's real feelings? I'm confused over here.
All right, so let's take care of this. Reactions that come in the form of feelings, which we called energy fields, because they're in the body. The mind ego can't feel, the body feels. Now, when did those first feelings erupt? When we became humans, when we became the survivor. In that moment, every single feeling that you recognize started there. That is the origin. Now, in the spiritual world, we say we reincarnate. In the Kabbalah, they call it klipot. They call it, you know, like an onion has, what happened to my
layers?
Layers, right. So each incarnation is a layer. But what is it a layer of? That original feeling. So unlike psychology, a psychologist will take you to your childhood and they'll say, oh yeah, you're feeling that because your father once shouted at you or whatever. But that's a layer on top of the original feeling that happened the moment you left the vessel and you became a survivor. So I don't want to have to go through all those layers. I want to go straight to the origin. How do I do that? I let go of everything I think I know. And what am I left with? I'm left with an energy field that is in my body. That energy field is a magnetic field. It's usually, if it's automatic, it's usually negative, because the only way we knew how to love is on condition, because that's the survivor. So what I want to do is I want to not tell the story, oh, because my father did that, and that's because I don't want to get involved with the stories. I want to give myself some space to allow the feeling to take care of itself. It's like the pain body. The feeling is going to come through. It also has its own lifespan, and it's going to leave when it's ready. There's nothing you can do about it. You can think you're going to go to the doctor, I'm going to have acupuncture, I'm going to do this, but it won't leave until it's ready to leave. And the only way it'll be ready to leave is if you give it permission.
Permission to come in or to leave?
Permission to be. It came in because it erupted. It came in and it needs to leave on its own merit. So you don't interfere with it. So what we say is that when there's a problem, you move away from the problem. You don't try to solve problems. The only thing you do is to try and fix your demeanor. Now, if we're talking about manifestation feelings, once you've given permission to that, and aside to that, You are living in the here and now. You make a choice how you want to feel about you in the now. You can use anything. You can use a prop. You can look at a flower and say, okay, I'm going to smile. Whatever you want, use the physical world to make you feel good, okay? Because at the end of the day, anything you ever want is to feel a feeling. There is nothing you would do. You wouldn't move from your chair if you didn't want to feel a feeling. You wouldn't buy a new car. You wouldn't want to strive for a new house. You wouldn't want to do anything unless you wanted to feel a feeling. But because we live in the here and now, I want to feel it in my now. I don't want to wait till it happens. I want to feel it now because that's what I want. So if you're telling a story about the past, you're feeling it in the now. And if you're telling a story about the future, you're feeling it in the now. There isn't another space and time that you can feel that. But if you start a sentence saying, I feel that, that's where the lie is. Because the ego mind can't feel. But if you say my ego is telling a story about this energy field that I have, then you see the difference. And what you're left with is, you know what? I'll just let this energy field do whatever it needs to do. And I'm going to make a choice. What do I want to feel right now? Because you can wash the dishes with a frown or a smile. You're still washing the dishes. You see, it's never about the situation. And we're never afraid of a situation. We're always afraid of how we would feel in a situation. Okay, so that's the difference. So there's twofold. One is allowing the energy field that's erupted on its own. It's a reaction. It has to come from the past. The other one is, okay, how do I want to feel right now? Because I want to fix the way I feel so that I can really help people elate. That can't happen if I'm feeling in the dumps. If I'm telling a story, if poor little me, right?
Yeah, but is that step number 2? So first I need to feel that feeling, and only then I need to ask myself, how do I want to feel? Like I'll give you an example. Okay, so let's say I'll take a real example.
Okay.
As you know, I'm in the dating world for a long time, and after years, there was a girl that I felt inside that, you know, we really had like a soul connection, and this can work. And I hardly knew her, but I said like I'm committed for this relationship to work. And then she told me, it was nice to meet you, but I'm continuing my life. And at the beginning, like in the past, I would have said, you know what, yeah, like be strong, throw the feeling away and put on your running shoes, go run, and everything will be fine. Put your mind on gratitude and whatever.
Nah, it won't work.
Yeah, so today I decided I'll feel the feeling, the pain, and believe me, it was painful. But what do I do? Now, after I felt that, I said, okay, I give myself 1 hour. Okay, after 1 hour, I feel something else. Like, for how much time do I need
No,
to
you're still thinking.
feeling?
You're still thinking. Look, first of all, she did not bring a new feeling out of you. That is always the original survivor feeling. Whatever's happening to us, if that comes up, the pain comes up, it's that old feeling. She's only a trigger in this lifetime.
Like everyone else, you said whoever's on our path meant to be on our path.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, there's no such thing as rejection. There is such a thing as suitable or not suitable. And when we awaken ourselves to that and we look at our own truth, we could ask ourselves, is she really compatible for me? But we're not busy asking that question when somebody else has made the decision for us. But if you really look inside, you'll see it wouldn't have worked. Now, this is the thing, twofold. One, the original feeling was there. I don't give it time or whatever. It has its own time space. Some feelings will take longer than others to dissipate because they've got all these layers to go through. They're energy fields. I don't interfere with that. I had a feeling that lasted a long time, but I still lived adjacent to that and said, okay, you just carry on doing your thing. It has its own entity.
And you let it be.
You just let it be because it's there anyway. Now, if you're going to resist it and argue with it and build a story on it, you're going to be in pain for a long time. But if you allow it, it's going to go because it's that original. Okay, so now we come to the situation of the day. Now, when you get together with somebody, you will never get together with anyone that you didn't reincarnate with, that you didn't have unfinished business with. You can go into a space where there are 2,000 people and you'll connect to one because it's familiar, because there's something that happened before. Okay? And it means that you've got a lesson to learn together. You have to go through it, but you can't control it. Now, this is the thing. Each soul has made a contract with the other to bring the other to its next level in its spiritual path. Okay? And if something gets too bad, you want to cut the contract because you haven't come here to sacrifice yourself. Okay? So it's not the story, it's let's look at the truth. So if she didn't want it, it's not meant for you. But the ego wants to keep chasing something that doesn't want us because we want to prove to them our value. And that's where we know that we're lessening our own value. Because you're always going to chase, well, you know, when you start chasing somebody, what happens to the other side? They run.
Right.
You can't chase somebody standing still. Okay? So we want to understand what it's like to have our own value, to be the flower, not the bee. We want the world to come to us based on who we are. Because remember, your script was already written. The God universe knows your script. You don't, you're in discovery. Okay? And somehow the ego, based on so many notions, based on what it thinks it sees, based on culture, will tell you how you're supposed to live your life. What about if you're not supposed to live your life that way? Maybe some people have things written in their line and some people don't. Some people are supposed to have children, some people don't. It doesn't matter how much you're going to think and dream about having children. If it's meant for you, you will have a child. And if it's not, you won't. But are you going to say, I'm not going to be happy unless I have it? You were given a life. Enjoy the life. Now, you will never know how it's going to come about. I've seen cases where condoms have been torn, where contraception didn't work. People say, oh, we're not going to have a child, and suddenly, boom, they've had a child. Because that child had to come out. How do we know? It's creation. Okay? And when that child comes out, on the day it comes out, it's coming back is also written. It's coming out of this world is also written. So there are two dates that have got nothing to do with us. The coming in and the coming out. We've got to live the middle. Nobody dies of illness. You die with the illness. But you're still going to die on the day you were supposed to die.
Wow.
Let you into another secret. When I was very young, this was one of my first out-of-body experiences. I have had many. I drowned and I immediately got out. I wasn't suffering. My body was underwater, swallowing gallons of water. I wasn't suffering. I was watching it. Okay? And then when my father jumps in to take me out and pumps the water out, it felt like an earthquake had hit me. I came back. I didn't want to come back because you just can't believe the freedom of that thing. It's just, oh, wow. There isn't no comparison, okay? But there were two things that I understood. First of all, I had the evidence that you just don't die. What dies is the control. You become this floating oneness. The other thing I understood was you don't have pain when you die. Because God is so clever. If you're watching a lion attack a zebra, you're looking and you're saying, oh, the poor zebra, but the zebra went. The zebra is not there. It's watching its own body being eaten. It's not suffering. That's if you're supposed to die. If you're supposed to live, say, after a gunshot, you will have some pain because pain only exists in life.
Yeah.
It can't exist in death. Okay?
Wow.
So you have to understand that there's this genius. I don't understand it. I don't know it. But I know it's there. And I want to be able to surrender to that genius because that's the genius who created everything.
Wow.
And that's when the pain stops.
when you realize that.
Sorry?
Wow. No, I'm saying when you
Yeah.
realize that, that's when the pain stops. And I think something that a lot of people can connect to, because many people today, they're trying to find their meaning. You also talk about that in the book, and I really recommend people read the book, but find the meaning and think, well, maybe we don't have a meaning, or maybe there's nothing for us to do in life. And you're saying that everything is already here, and our job is basically to discover it, which that's great news. Well, whether the people that knew that already before, amazing. Whether people thought that they have nothing to do here and they hear about my mistake, and you were saying there are no mistakes. There is a reason for us being here. But
First of all,
yeah,
you've got to tackle the question about what is the meaning of life. And then again, it's the brain wanting to know. I don't know what the meaning of life is. I discover the meaning. I don't know what it is. If I think I want to know what the meaning is, I'm going to be really troubled. I don't know what the meaning is. The more I teach, the more the years go by, the less I know. I'm this thing right now that's talking, a voice is coming out of me. Yeah, on the mundane level, you can explain the vocal cords and blah, blah, blah. You still can't explain this voice that's carrying. I don't understand this. My hands are moving. I can't explain it, but it is. Something's happening. And when I look at it that way, I don't see an identity. I see this energy. I don't know what it is. I get up in the morning, my eyes are open, my heart's beating, the lungs filled. Something's happening me. I'm not doing anything about it. So my job is not to keep alive. Something is keeping me alive until it decides not to. My job is to live life. That's my job. Okay, it's to be in the here and appreciate and understand that Mount Everest is the same as sleeping. Everything is an experience of life. Life is God. Okay, but if I think, oh, maybe I'll find the meaning if I climb Mount Everest. So I'm living that in the hope that I'm going to discover something. It's an experience, but that isn't what life is. It's part of life. It's an experience inside life. And at the end of the day, you see, where do you spend most time? With yourself, right?
right. Well, with my
And
thoughts.
you can't get out of that. Yeah, and you can't get out of that. You are living you 24/7.
Right.
You are now living you, experiencing me and you. I don't know what that is. It's probably nothing to do with what I'm feeling. Okay? But that's what you're doing inside you. You are always you experiencing you. So imagine that you're on your own for 24 hours and all you're doing is going through this and you're feeling miserable. You're spending time with very bad company.
Yeah, it's not that
And
fun.
it's all you. And it's all you. And what if you put a smile on yourself on your face and you're reading and you're enjoying yourself, then you're in good company. So you could be in bad company and good company with people around you, because it all depends on how you're living within you. And it's always going to be your company that will be the problem, not them. Because you are the experiencer. That's good news, because it gives you all the power. You don't have to do anything outside of yourself.
Well, we said we have no power.
Yeah, but it gives you, that's the only space that you're in charge of.
My space.
The only way you want to feel about you is the only space you're in charge of.
Wow. Wow, you said like everything is like, I'll need to listen to this again, and whoever's listening to this again, I always believe, always on the channel we talk about listening one time and then writing down everything and seeing how we implement it in life, because only listening, I don't think it's enough. I know things, whatever needs to happen will happen, but will unfold. But I really connected to something you just said like a few minutes ago. You said that our job is not to keep alive, is to live, to be alive. And my question is, well, okay, I understand. I need to surrender. I need to let go. I just need to be in the present. But
you don't need to. You choose to.
Okay, I choose to. I go for that. But I'm not sure I'm saying the right words. If I want to hope God or just like unfold my journey, but like I want to also do some things in order for things to happen, because many times things are not happening the way I want, and maybe they're not on my journey, and that's fine. But I want to help. I want to help them be in my journey, and I want to know how.
We're not saying lay back and not do anything. It's not what we're saying. We're saying notice where it's coming from. That's what we're saying. If it's from God, you'll be impulsed into moving. You'll know. It's called effortless doing. If you're doing it through the mind ego, you're going to be running all day long. It's full gas neutral, as we say in Hebrew.
Right.
How do you say that in English?
No, it's pretty simple. If it's not effortless, yeah, you feel you're working in the rat race around the clock.
Yeah,
nothing's really happening.
And by the way, we have that promise in the Shema. The Shema is, I don't know how to translate the Shema. It's a prayer, but it's the technology of life, because it says to you specifically, and it's saying it's coming from God's mouth, then he transfers it to Moses, but the same thing. He says, all I want from you is to fill up my commandments. Love me, he says. He says, that's all I want. If you do that, you filled up all the commandments. And then he says, when you and I join and become one, I'll supply everything. And you'll read Meitar Me'ashamayim, I'll bring the rain, I will feed your animals, I'll do it all. You don't have to do anything. But if you bow down to other gods and you run to what you think you see, which is the addictions, you will get lost. You're going to get lost from the body that I gave you. And I can't help you then. And that's what it's a one-time thing that if we really understand it and we get it, we live effortlessly. And you live because at the end of the day, again, what do you want? You want serenity, you want happiness. You get that when you live this universe. My grandfather used to say, if I'm in a body, God still wants me to live. So I don't have to worry about when I'll die, when I'm here. Oh, he needs me to live. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Every morning, when we wake up in the Modani, and we say, Rabbi Munatech, like if God believes in us and he woke us up in the morning, I think they say more than 100,000 people every morning don't wake up, and we're still up every morning. I guess there's a reason for us that we woke up, and now we need to, like you said, to discover it because it's there.
Exactly.
The question is, like, okay, let's say I hope to wake up tomorrow morning, maybe yes, maybe no, but I hope I will. And now you're saying that whatever is going to come in my way tomorrow, and even right now, are basically, those are things that meant to be in my way, whether it's people, events, whatever. And now I want to do the best, and whoever's watching this, we want to do the best in whatever we can do. I know it's not in our control, in order to understand those messages that come through to us.
No, you don't. You don't. You see, this is exactly the trick of the mind ego. The ego wants to do its best. How does it know what the best is? I
trying to help God.
Well, the point is we can give the message and hope that it lands wherever it lands. I can't tell what other people's processes are. I have alumni, which means that everybody who's done this process will come once a month and we'll meet together and blah, blah. And I will channel downloads, whatever it is. I have no idea how somebody's understanding it. It's none of my business. They'll all understand it. They'll each understand it in the space that they are on their way. Maybe they even understand it higher than I do. I don't know. But it's not up to me to want to understand it for them. In fact, that is condescending. That is saying, no, you've got to understand the way I want. I need you. You can't. So the ego says, I want to do my best. The ego wants to take credit for everything. Whatever's coming out of my mouth right now, it's nothing to do with me. If I think it is, I'm going to be in trouble. Because then I'm going to say, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I should have said that. Oh, I want to be in control. I can't. It's nothing to do with me. And I don't know whose ears it's going to fall on. And it's none of my business. If I make it my business, I just condensed myself and I'm in trouble now.
But didn't you say before that that's in our, whatever is in our path is in our control? Not whatever is in the path, whatever comes
Not
out.
Control, not control. Whatever shows up for me is meant for my spiritual journey.
Is meant for our spiritual
Control
journey.
has got nothing to do with it.
Okay, so let's say it's meant for our spiritual journey. And now in that spiritual journey, you know, many times, I know you mentioned at the beginning that like if we want something to happen, let's say kids, and they don't come, doesn't mean that like maybe we just it's not meant to be. But a lot of psychologists talk about a lot that things that don't happen to us are basically paradigms in our subconscious mind that we need to release. So I'm saying, let's say if my business is not going well, my relationship is not going well, whatever with my friends, things that are stuck. So something in the paradigm needs to be changed. Are you saying that has that nothing to do with that? It's not meant to be. If it didn't work until now, that means that it's something that was not meant to be.
Okay, let's put this in order. The only thing that you're in charge of is your state of being. If you're running after trying to be successful at something, but you don't believe it, and it's not written for you, not going to happen. But what we want to earn every day of our lives is serenity and happiness as much as we can, because then I'm successful. There's no point being successful. You know what? They found statistically that people who have won the lottery, most of them lose the money immediately.
Right.
Now, why is that? Because the imprint of the DNA, the survivor, wants to come home. And it's saying, oh, really? So you think you're a millionaire now? Well, I'm still going to bring you back to being the survivor. What we have to overcome is being the survivor. Because as long as I'm a survivor, I think I'm in control. And I think I have to maneuver and I have to make decisions. But if I'm not the survivor and I'm walking hand in hand with God, then my inner quality of life is that of abundance. And then, like we said in the Shema, everything comes to me. Because it's the wavelength of your inner being. If your inner being wavelength has to do with being the survivor, guess what you're doing? You're pushing it away. Now, all I'm saying is, this box, the 4% that we use, thinks it knows what success looks like. But if you're out of the box, your success is far beyond what you can ever think. And that's when you're walking hand in hand with God. Because again, where are you living? You're not living outside of you. You're living within you. If you would sit on the beach all day long, feeling good, not having a care in the world, would it matter if you had millions in the bank or you didn't?
Nope.
You see, it's not the external world that is going to create your inner being. It's the internal world that could create the external world if it's meant for you. But at the same time, you've just earned your quality of life, which lives within you. You are a dimension right now. Dimensions don't live outside of us. Dimensions are an experience. I had a cat that I unfortunately had to put down after 19 years. We saw each other, but we lived on different dimensions. So if I put a pen on the floor, he would just roll it around. He didn't understand it was a pen. There was no meaning to it for him, except that he was just rolling it. So his experience was a different dimension to my experience, because I know what a pen does. Same with money. There is no value in money. There's value in what you bought for the money. Right. You can't speak through money. You can speak on the phone. You can't write with money. You can write with a pen. You bought yourself an experience. It's not about how much money you have. It's about what experience do you want? Sometimes there are some people who receive these experiences without having a penny in their pocket. I've got a friend who goes around the world in a private jet. She's got no money, but she's got these very wealthy friends, and they take her with her, and she's experiencing life as a very wealthy woman. But she says, "Oh, but I don't have money of my own." I said, "What does it matter?" you are having the experience of what a lot of, rich people don't have.
Right. Wow.
That's the choice.
Okay, so if now we understand that everything basically starts from the inside, and now
and ends there as well,
right? And that you said also before that in order for us to maybe get someplace, well, we don't know if it would happen or not, we need to have a belief, right? And then maybe it's in the plan first and maybe it's not, but we need to have that belief for whatever it is, if I understood correctly, or maybe I didn't.
No, you need a state of being, not a belief.
But
a belief is like I'm saying to you, got to believe in God. No, if you believe in God, you're still in the brain. You have to trust God. That's a different level. If I have to believe, I'm already conjuring up a picture. I'm looking at something. I'm going to have to try now to develop that. But if I'm aligned with, in my state of being, that's when manifestation happens, and it happens within me.
well, that's the thing. That's the thing. The part where I didn't understand. So, for example, I want to get married, to create a family, and that's something that I want for a long time now. Isn't that the belief that I need to believe that I'm worthy for that, or like how do I do that manifestation? That's
okay. So first of all, you're worthy because you were born. That's the only reason you're worthy. This God, entity, whatever it is, chose you in this lifetime to be you. You'll search high and low and you'll never find another you. You're it. Your job is to be you. You have not come here to impress, you've come here to express. Because if you're bothered with impressing, you lost your value.
nice.
Now, we've established that. Do you think God doesn't know that you want to have a family and children? Do you have to keep saying, hey, where is it?
I think my mom is saying that.
Well, she's saying that because you've got that inner dialogue. If you didn't have the inner dialogue, everybody would stop saying that.
Yeah. But
okay.
I'm saying that, but I'm also saying maybe it's not for me if it didn't happen until now.
You're not supposed to have the discussion. That's what I'm saying. You're supposed to get up in the morning and live the happiest life you can. And if it's meant for you, it'll turn up because it's meant for you.
So there's no manifestation.
The manifestation is the other way. We reverse traffic. You see, most people have taught us that manifestation is me wanting something very badly, desiring it. That's the struggle. Because the wavelength of that is struggle. And if there's a struggle, what's going to be attached to the struggle?
More struggle.
Manifestation is this. We're reversing traffic now. It's what do you want for me? Because I want is the ego. The ego has the will. The spirit doesn't have will. It's just dancing, having fun in a body, out of the body. It doesn't care. The ego wants. And why does it want? Because it's based on something it thinks it knows. If you go to Ghana, women there can't get married unless they're really fat. It's considered beautiful. In the Western world, you've got to be really skinny.
Yeah.
So who makes those decisions? Now, if you lived on a desert island, you've got coconuts and monkeys. Who are you comparing yourself to? Would you be considered beautiful? You're the only one.
Whatever I feel. Whatever I feel inside. Nothing to do with anyone because there's no one there.
Exactly. So the same thing, if you're in limbo, in a black hole, and it's just pitch dark, you don't know who you are. But the moment there's a little star, you're already in comparison. You already have something to go by and say, oh, I have a reflection. But that's where the problem starts. I just saw that my tiny grandson was given a book called Opposites. Black or white, tall or short, and I said, why? Black is black and white is white. Why shouldn't they not stand their own merit? Why do they have to be opposites? What if everything just had its own merit and it didn't have to be in opposites and it didn't have to be compared? So you've got information that says, I'm this age, I'm that, I should be married with children. How would you know that if there wasn't a comparison to something? How do you even know that it's true for you?
Marriage?
I don't know. Maybe the type of union. How do you know which union is good for you? You've got to first know who you are. I had a client, very religious, who wasn't married yet at 40. And she was really, really in stress because everybody was pressuring her. And I said to her, I sort of put her through this visualization. And I said to her, if you had to be totally honest with you, how do you like to live your life? She says, I get stressed just thinking that I have to be with somebody 24/7. So I said, well, maybe the right partner for you would be somebody you see twice a week. And you live in different houses. And you can still have children. Who says that that model has to suit this model? So I'm saying first get to know your own self honestly. If you really want to bring somebody into your life, but you want to bring somebody into your life based on your truth. That's number one. But again, it has to be aligned with what God wants. So what we say, true manifestation is not what I want, God, can you deliver it to me? It's what do you want for me? Show me what you want for me. And I will manifest what you wanted for me. So if God wanted me to manifest this book, okay, because, you know, I draw as well. So this is a journal, okay? I will get an idea. He will show me. I'll get an idea. I will be inspired. I will call a graphic designer. I'll start moving the physical manifestation along, but I'm manifesting something he wanted.
How do you see what he showed you? Whatever it is in life that you're saying that he
Because
showed
an
you.
idea came. Where would the idea come?
That idea is basically something that he showed you? Like when ideas come up, you're saying that that's signs, whatever that God is showing us?
Where would ideas come from in time and space? They already exist. My mother once said to me, anything you can imagine already exists. Anything. You think of things. I often give this as an example. You know, the guy who invented the cocktail umbrella, those little tiny umbrellas that you put in cocktails. It was really a stupid idea. The guy made millions over that.
Right.
Okay, why? Because he didn't question it. There was a factory in Israel that produced sardine boxes that had holy air in it. The holy air from Israel.
Okay.
Made a lot of money from that. Because he had an idea and he did it. And that was that. He didn't ask questions. He didn't say, oh, but that's stupid. He didn't second guess it. So it's not about how good the idea is. It's about whether you second guess it. If you don't go into the mind and you don't second guess it, you receive it, there's inspiration, you move physically towards it, you are now partnering up with God. He gave the idea, you're doing the physical part. And then it has to work.
Wow. So the fact that personally I or she or he got the idea, that means like we are the people that had to get that idea, because it's an idea for us and it came to us and not to someone else. And
No.
does that mean we have the capability?
The idea exists in the universe. It depends whether you're second guessing it or not. If you don't do it, somebody else will. Because if it's come, it has to be.
Yeah, that I understand, but I'm asking, if now I got the idea, does that mean that I also have the capability to, to turn it from an idea to something?
Absolutely.
Uh,
That is the co-creation that we have.
Good news.
But you have to work with him, not with the ego.
Hmm.
The ego doesn't have a desire, it has a longing. It wants, if I say to you, yeah, I've got 2 ice creams here, chocolate and vanilla. Which one do you want?
Both.
What would you say? Ah, that's a good answer. Some people say, I want vanilla because I don't like chocolate. But how do you know that on this occasion, the chocolate isn't really good, but the vanilla is amazing? Because you're bringing that recording machine with you. You're bringing an old experience with you.
Hmm.
When you get an idea from God, universe, it's brand new. It's inspiring. That's the hint. If it's through the ego or the mind, it's something that you've already seen. It's something that you want again. So think about the difference between craving and passion. Craving is wanting something that you've already had. So you have a longing for it. It becomes an addiction. Passion is new. Okay. Inspiration comes from in spirit. Enthusiasm comes from entheos, which I think means God in Greek. Okay. So there's 2 different realms. Which ones do you want to live in? The ego has to surrender itself to allow God to give you the idea. And ideas come in silence. They don't come when you're brainstorming. You're going to brainstorm. You're going to sit in a boardroom, nothing. And then suddenly there's silence and whoops, oh, an idea comes. Different space. If you want to stop thoughts, focus on the right side of your brain and you've stopped thoughts. You don't have to go into all this stuff to get into meditation. You immediately shift into it.
What do you mean? How do you do that?
Okay. So we'll start with, close your eyes and think of the right toe on your right leg. And just see only the toe until it tingles. Now do the same to the right side of your brain. Just put the focus on it and you'll see that you're going to be in total silence. All thoughts just stop.
Is this like this area?
Right side, yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
No thoughts there. But that's the area where ideas come from. It's the silence. It's beyond the cognitive. And everybody has that. Everybody. So this is the thing. You have to be willing to surrender. You want to be willing to bungee jump into the unknown. And paradoxically, when you do that, you will have everything you've ever wished for. And we're talking about feelings again.
Yeah. Well, everything starts and ends on in the feelings because, like you said, we won't get out of our chair or out of our bed if there's no feeling accompanying that. Wow.
Yeah. So what I would do is let go, surrender the idea that you have to get married and have children. Just give it. Don't be afraid to do it, because if it's meant for you, it's going to turn up.
So when you're saying be and it will be means surrendering?
Yes, be means state of being. Whoever you are, not whatever you're thinking, whatever you are will be, but it'll be in the feeling form. Because that's what you want. You don't know what marriage is. You have an idea about it. But you don't really know what it is until you go through it, because it's a relationship. It's a development. It's a discovery. But you have an idea. And now you're living an idea that might not be the truth for you. Wow. And if it's supposed to turn up, it will. I've never looked for a partner. I've never looked for an apartment. I knew. Somebody walked through the door. We just knew. People are spending so much time looking for and chasing for and missing their lives in the meantime.
Right.
You know, you go to a wedding, you think, oh, maybe I'll meet them there. Oh, maybe it's the pizza boy. Maybe it's now. Where are you? Where are you living when you believe that that's going to solve you? That's not what's going to solve you. But the chances are much better if you're happy and serene just because. Then the chances are better because now you're allowing the universe to work for you. And if it's on your path, you'll get it. And if it's not, you won't, but you'll at least be happy.
And that's, I think, exactly the point. Like I recently, I think maybe a year ago, maybe a little bit less, I told myself, I don't know if it's on my path or not, whether it's that or whether different business ideas that I had. And what like I'm trying to work on a lot is being present. And then a friend of mine, maybe it was like a year and a half ago, asked me, yeah, you're like, why are you so like conscious, trying to be conscious of being present? And then I told him, listen, if not, like you said, like half an hour ago, then I'm just being alive, but I'm not living life. If I'm not present, I might walk through this beautiful flower every day, and I won't see it. Now I wake up in the morning, I'm wow, like nothing to do with other things that I think that should happen or not happen. So just being in that presentness, I think we discover, as you said, so much of the things that are already here, and I'm sure there's much more to discover, but I could just do we're at the present place that I'm there. So
yeah, it's like driving on the motorway and suddenly you notice there's a building and you say, oh, I didn't see that yesterday. How could that be? It's a whole building. Because where were you?
Oh, exactly.
Where were you? It's where am I? And where am I is in here. You cannot, you know, in Hebrew we say, God says, it's not, it says, build yourself that temple so that I can live within you. But it's not about a brick temple. This is the temple. This is the temple. And we have an exchange. We have something that says, Anile Dodi Dodili. We're in partnership. Dodi means my uncle. And so my uncle will be for me and I'll be for him. It's an exchange. Okay? So I have to understand that that's my first partner before I go anywhere else. If I don't have that in my life, I'm going to be a horrible person. I'm going to be wanting to control everyone. I'm going to be ruling everyone. But if I have that in my life, I can see clearly and I can see what's mine and what isn't mine. You see, and you see with your mind's eye, you don't see with your eye. You can go to this, we can go to the same film and we'll both see different films. The projector looks like it's in the back and the film's in the front. But if you turn off the projector, you've turned off the film. Okay, so where is the film and where's the projector? It's all within you. You're interpreting what you see. So that's the good news because we're multiple universes. I don't have to be like you. You don't have to be like me. And we can each have a different experience. You can be talking to me about a pain. I can identify, but I will never really know your pain because I'm not the experiencer of you. You're the experiencer of you.
Huh.
You know, when we were children, we all know that if we were cut, we'd be bleeding, and we could literally watch our skin come together and heal. You show me somebody who's never seen that. You cut yourself, and it just heals itself. But somehow the ego mind says, oh, that's not the same for the internal organs. Oh, this magical thing that we've seen doesn't happen inside. Why not? If this body's genius, it's genius altogether. If it can heal that, it can heal that. But we think if we can't see it, it doesn't exist. So we have to go to do an ultrasound. We've got to do that. Now, the more you probe into it, the more you actually enlarge the problem. So if you're talking about opposites, if you're talking about healing, you're talking about illness. You don't want to talk about the issue at all. You want to allow the issue to do its own thing.
Just be.
Yeah. Give it permission.
Wow.
But if you're going to say, no, I got to heal, you're talking about being afraid of being ill.
Yep. Wow.
So again, we come back to surrender.
Yeah, we start there and we end there. I think surrendering, when I realized I met you before I went to my big business trip in America, and I remember over there I felt I'm in a boxing arena with sand, drowning in the sand, and I forgot, like quicksand, in a boxing
Yeah.
arena with quicksand under my legs. And I was always like trying to fight, and like I was getting up, and like then again sinking. And then I remember one morning, like I wake up and I'm like, okay, listen, God, universe, I get it. I'm not in control. Like every time I thought I'm in control, I almost got out and I got punched in the face. So
Yeah.
I won't forget that morning. I told him, listen, I get it. Okay. I'm not in control. I do whatever I do, but the results is by you. I'm surrendering, and that's it. Whatever will happen will happen. I'll do whatever I think I should do, but I'm like not a place of this has to happen.
Right.
And
And the feeling is amazing when you surrender.
it was until then I was like that, and like it was crazy. Like, wow, it was challenging. And after that, okay,
Amazing. It's euphoria. When you really surrender, it's euphoria. I remember going to India for the first time like 25 years ago. And I went with the partner on my book, that book. And I remember we're sitting in a rickshaw, and all these people suddenly came. There's a woman with a baby, a guy without a leg, and I'm getting really confused. And I'm saying to Tzachi, who should I give money to? And he said, well, you can give it to all of them and then stand with them. And there was a moment of humility that rushed over me. And I said, who the fuck do you think you are? You, Ronny Hatchwell, has come here to save India? You've come here to save India? Because, you look at all these opposites. You see a hotel with gold, and then you see people living in the slums, and something has to be done. And no, I'm this small. I'm not here to fix the world. I'm here to allow the world to fix me. I'm here to see that and say, why is it showing up in my life? What can I fix about me? When you look at people who are fighting Greenpeace and all that, this earth survived dinosaurs, it survived Ice Age, it survived everything because it's God's, and we think we have to fix the earth. We've got to fix ourselves. We're here on borrowed time. It's so condescending to think we got to fix the earth. No, we've got to take responsibility for our own illness, our own internal illness. The control, that's the biggest disease on earth. Thinking that you're controlling lives, you're killing animals, you're doing all this stuff because you think. Just that, because you think.
Wow.
Nothing to do with me. I can't fix the world. I can barely fix myself. That's what I'm trying to do. I can't fix the world. But when I fix me, I at least fix my inner circle. The Dalai Lama said, you fix you, your family gets fixed, the neighborhood gets fixed, the city gets fixed, the country gets fixed. You start with you first. You can't do anything outside of you. So surrender is euphoria as far as I'm concerned.
100%. And I think that it's something to practice. I personally, I think that, if now I want to listen again, and I'm going to listen again to all of this conversation, and whoever's going to listen to this again and again, I think it's really important to understand that it's not a one-time act. It's a practice in life. It's a way to live life. And if it doesn't work the first time, so try again. Like the first time you tried walking, you probably fell. Well, I fell for sure as a baby, and then again and again. But then we get stronger. And I think when people live this type of life, their life totally changes to the one that they get, that the feelings that they want. I would say it's all about those feelings. And I think like you said, surrendering is like so. I really appreciate only like so you said it's coming
Yeah,
through you, but like the wisdom is amazing, and the tools, and it's practical. So many times people say spiritual and they say, okay, that has nothing to do with me. Spiritual, no, it's out there, but no, it's here. It's here to help whoever's listening to this to live their life in the way that would serve them, to have feelings of well-being and happiness, and light their path. And I always believe, like you said, we're here. We're not here to fix the world, but when we light our path, so then automatically we also light the path of the people surrounding us.
absolutely.
So I really appreciate it, all of your time and all the wisdom that you brought here. I'll leave links down below, also to get the book and also for people to contact you. And
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you. See you soon.
Looking forward. I hope you enjoyed the video and you got some tools to overcome your challenges and light your path. For us to help other people, please press that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget that the most amazing things in life are the one you take for granted.